Hang 'em High is a Western from 1968, which is directed by Ted Post, the director of what I feel was the best of the Dirty Harry films, Magnum Force. And this film, again, stars Clint Eastwood, although this was done before Magnum Force. So the story follows this man, Marshal Jed Cooper, although he's not a marshal at the start of the film when we first happen upon him. Although he does have a history in law enforcement. He's just kind of become a farmer, and he's bought a bunch of cattle when a group of men stumble upon him, accuse him of stealing the cattle and killing the cattle's owner. And for this, they hang him. Unfortunately for them, the hanging doesn't kill him, and they've created a monster. Basically, this man will pursue them for revenge till the ends of the earth, and he does so under the guise of the law. He becomes a lawman once more. He's done so at the behest of Pat Hingle's Judge Fenton, a man who seems hell-bent on hanging every single criminal that comes through his doors. This man uses this Marshal Jed to basically do his dirty work. But the two of them create this uneasy alliance. Eastwood's character knowing that it's only by kind of working for this judge that he's going to be able to track down the men that tried to hang him. So it's a bit of a fractious relationship, but one that kind of works for both parties. So this film came a few years after the Dollars trilogy, which is held in very high regard amongst Western fans, amongst Eastwood fans, and I understand like some of that kind of love for that trilogy, particularly the final film, Good, the Bad and the Ugly. I think is the high point of that. Whereas the first two movies in that trilogy, I from a visual standpoint, I think they're great. But I wasn't quite as sold on them as a lot of other people seem to be. Because of that, I think a lot of people look down on this film. They're a bit sniffy about it. It's not quite as good as the Dollars trilogy. It's one of Eastwood's lesser westerns. But I really loved it. I really engaged with it. I found it quite gripping, to say the least. And there are a few scenes in here that still have the power to shock considerably. This is a film that features quite a lot of hanging. It's about a hanging judge and his lawman. There's one particular central kind of set piece in the film in which a whole group of men are hung at once. And you have one man kind of essentially repenting of his sins, but warning those who are watching to turn from their ways, particularly their ways of drinking and whatnot, so that they don't end up down the same path he does. And it's quite a challenging scene because you feel for this guy. He's done something that's actually quite heinous. He's taken a woman without her consent. But you get the sense that he's genuinely repentant. He knows he's going to die, and yet he's still saying that, I did the wrong thing. And he's upset about it. But it's just, they're going to hang him anyway. And then you've got these other two characters that Eastwood picked up, that he feels are being wrongly sentenced to death. And he goes to bat for them. At one point, he's trying to make sure that they don't hang. So when this whole group of men goes up, you have all these different conflicting emotions about each one of them, about who should and who shouldn't hang, and you become the judge. What the film does is it positions you as the judge, and you start kind of, as we go down this line of men, you're like, yeah, he should hang. Oh no, but he shouldn't. Oh, I feel sorry for these guys. Oh, he seems sorry about what he's done. Let's let him off. So you do. The film does a very good job in that moment of turning you into this judge, jury, and an executioner. And it's quite an effective piece of filmmaking. I love all the scenes with Clint Eastwood and Pat Hingle. Just when they go at loggerheads, I really enjoy it. And it's not often you'll find someone who can really go toe to toe with Eastwood and you feel like Eastwood backs down and you buy it. It's not often you buy that he would back down. He's just going to take someone out. But it's like, yeah, Pat Hingle holds his own. He kind of really steps forth and takes his ground. And he's quite scary, to be honest. You know, if I had this guy as a judge, I could believe he'd be quite scary. But just, this is a man who has the strength of his convictions, but also you get the sense of this weight that is upon him, that, you know, he knows he's killed a lot of people. You know he's responsible for having a lot of people killed. But in his heart of hearts, deep down, he feels that this is the best approach in order to tame America, to civilize America. You know, we can't look at it through the eyes of the modern man. We have to look at it through his eyes, as someone who's gone into this rough land in which there are many outlaws, many people doing what they want when they please, and he has to tame it somehow. He has to bring civility there. So he's laying down the law. He is literally the law, the only representation of the law, him and his officers. So he's extremely tough as a result of that, and he takes no prisoners. It's hard to watch, and it's hard to agree with anything he does. But the sentiments of what he says often do strike a chord, and you're kind of forced to question, well, how would I deal with it in that situation? Given the amount of territory he has to police, has to judge, and the number of men that he has at his disposal, what would be the most effective way to govern this area? And yeah, it raises a lot of moral dilemmas, a lot of moral questions that kind of make me glad, one, that I wasn't born back in those days, and two, that I didn't have the kind of position of power that these men had. Inga Stevens is in this. She's an actress I'm not familiar with. She plays this character, Rachel, who has had some loss in her life, and every time that a new set of prisoners is brought into the town, she checks them out. She's obviously looking for someone in particular for very specific reasons. And as her kind of story comes out and her and Eastwood's character kind of start to warm to each other, there's this flicker of life and love in both of their lives that wasn't there before, that kind of allows them to come to a place where they're met with a choice. And it's very similar. When I was watching it, I thought of The Northman as the most recent example. You know, if you've seen The Northman, there's a particular point in that movie where the main character can choose to go on with the love of his life, or choose to go back to his quest, his pursuit of vengeance, so to speak. And I feel like, Eastwood's character in this, he's faced with a similar choice. Do you pick the path to happiness, or do you pick the path that you feel is, I guess, something you're called to ultimately, your mission in life, for whatever reason that may be? We don't get a lot of backstory with Eastwood's character, this Jed Cooper. We don't get to see how he lived before too much, but there's enough there just in the opening scene in which he's kind of herding this cattle over the waters, over this river. And there's one particular moment which just keys us in to who this guy is and gives us a sense of his warmth and his dignity and his kindness. And it's just this moment where he's speaking to a calf. This calf won't get up and walk, so he knows he's going to have to carry it. And he does. He goes into the water, he picks it up, and the way he talks to it gently and lovingly, it just gives you a flavour of who this man is. So when he suddenly turns, not for obvious reasons, but he does a turn, he's a bit of a character shift, he goes a bit darker, becomes a man on a mission. You totally get it, you totally get why, but you also kind of, you feel sorry for who this man was at the point in his life where we find him, because you see that actually this was a man with a lot of warmth, a lot of love in his heart, who probably just wanted to live out his life quite quietly, peacefully, and has been kind of forced to go the other way. That's all kind of summed up just in that one little scene, and it's really effective filmmaking to show you quite a lot, set up quite a lot with regards to who this character is in such a short space of time. Hang 'em High is a really good film that I think has aged particularly well. It's a real standout Western, and I'll definitely watch this again at some point in the future. It's one that makes you think, makes you feel, and gets you kind of rooting for certain characters, even characters that perhaps you shouldn't root for. So yeah, very well made film. But what about you? Have you seen Hang 'em High? And if so, where would you rank it alongside the likes of other westerns by Clint Eastwood? Where would you rank it alongside the Dollars trilogy? Leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this review. Do check out my Patreon and membership programs if you would like to see how you can help this channel along. And thank you for watching this video. Until next time, cracking.